Has our network infrastructure been hacked? Or do we still have time?
Welcome to the second session of the Free Build Your Own Secure Cassette course. In this course, you will learn how to use a firewall as an important security layer. Don't forget all the video are related, so I suggest if you encounter any problems or don't understand anything about the configuration I teach or the protocol we discuss, go to the playlist link above and watch the relevant video. Let's not waste time. What are we going to learn in this season? In the previous season, we learned how to set up the Fortigate Firewall using GNS3 and VMware Workstation. Now, today we want to connect to the Fortigate Firewall using the web interface like Google Chrome and the HTTP protocol and implement a simple scenario using the GNS3 simulator. I try to implement the scenarios as simple as possible so that you can easily understand the topics I explain. Well, if you remember, we create 5 interfaces for the Fortigate Firewall. Okay. Hostnet for adapter 1 automatically connected to VMnet 9 according to our settings. Hostnet for adapter 2 is connected to VMnet 10, which continues to VMnet 13. Well, since we only selected 5 interfaces in GNS3, the rest of the interfaces are kept in the default mode, which is breached, and we don't need to deal with them. To connect to the Fortigate Firewall, there are various methods like using the cloud feature in GNS3, but I've chosen the easiest way for you to connect to the Fortigate Firewall without hassle. Now I open the network connection on my computer. If you remember from the previous season, in host-only mode, we had a VMnet acting like a switch between the virtual network adapter and the host network adapter. So if I want to connect to the virtual machine connected to VMnet 13, I need to put the host network adapter and virtual network adapter in the same subnet. Since my VMnet 13 is connected to port 5 of the Fortigate, I actually be connecting through port 5 of the firewall. Let's proceed to get it done. I create the IP 192.168.10.10/24 for the host network connection. Then, I enter the firewall and navigate to the Config System Interface section to access the interface settings. Here, we can see all the interface settings. The equivalent ports inside the firewall in VMware are as follows: Port 1, Network Adapter 1, Port 2, Network Adapter 2, Port 5, Network Adapter 5. As you can see, there are no settings yet for port 5. I enter port 5 and create the IP 192.168.10.1/24 for it. Remember, to connect through port 5 to the firewall, you need to grant permission. I give permissions for the HTTP, HTTPS, and ping protocols. Now, I can connect to the firewall via port 5 using the HTTP protocol and the web interface. I hit next to save. Now, if we look, we see the setting create for port 5, and finally, I click End. Don't forget, I taught the instruction for these codes in a separate video and you can access it through the link above. Okay. I open the browser and navigate to 192.168.10.1 user and password, and I'm in. On your main page, you have a dashboard that you can easily customize. You can delete any item you want or add any information you like to the main page. For example, I want to always see that IPs that are in quarantine on my dashboard page. Okay, let's quickly go through the main menus. Network. In the section, you can change the settings of the firewall ports or configure settings like DNS and routing. Policy and objects. This is the most important section of a firewall. Here, you can control traffic in and out permissions and enable features like IPS. You can also publish a specific IP on the internet. VPN. We can establish tunnel between two organizations or provide remote user connectivity to your organization's internal network. User and authentication. We can configure useful features like LDAP or Reduce. Generally, user authentication can be controlled from this section. System. In this section, you can configure features like high availability or settings such as time, date, or firmware upgrades. Security fabric. It's used to set up extensive security features of Fortinet such as FortiAnalyzer logging or cloud logging. This section shifts the network security boundary. It's remarkable. Log and report. In this section, you can configure and view all network traffic logs. Well, we'll quickly become familiar with the main menus of the Fortigate Firewall, but throughout the course, we'll delve deeper into each of them. Let us start our first scenario. To do this, I need 3 VPCs and 1 layer 2 switch. Okay. When I place the VPCs on this screen, it asks us which system is responsible for this VPCs process. I select GNS3VM. I add the second and third VPCs. And finally, add the switch. I keep port 1 of the firewall for internet connection and connect port 2 to the switch. I connect one of the switch ports to VPCS 1 and the other one to VPCS 2. I want VPCS 3 to access the server. Now, I connect my server to port 3 of the firewall. Before starting the configuration, I specify the IP addresses for each. For the server, I consider IP 172.18.1.10/24. For the firewall side, I consider 172.18.1.1/24. Now let's move on to our internal network. I consider the firewall side as 192.168.2.1/24. Now, what I want to do is, I want VPCS1 to obtain an IP manually, but I want VPCS2 to receive its IP via DHCP server from the firewall. Okay, I run the scenario now. I enter the settings of VPCS1 and enter the IP 192.168.2.10/24, considering the firewall's IP as the gateway. Okay. Since VPCS2 is supposed to obtain an IP using the DHCP protocol, I don't need to do anything with it. Now, I move on to configuration the server similar to VPCS1. Now, let's move on to the Fortigate Firewall. I keep our scenario page open so you can fully understand. I navigate to the interface section under Network. First, let's go to port 2. In this section, you have full access to the interface settings of the firewall. Please note, I'm only teaching the settings using this scenario. As we continue with the training scenarios, I provide more comprehensive explanation with practical scenarios. Now, in the alias section, we consider a relevant name for this port. For example, since this port is connected to the local network, I'll name it local network. In the other section, if this port receiver service was intended, for example, to use this interface to receive internet, we could set it to DHCP mode. In this case, this interface would receive an IP from another DHCP server. Then, we could control what information it receives from that DHCP server, such as whether it should receive default gateway or DNS from the DHCP server or not. But in this scenario, we want port 2 itself to access the gateway and DHCP server and automatically assign an IP from the range 192.168.2.0/24 to VPCS 2. So, I choose manual mode and enter the IP 192.168.2.1/24. In the administrative access section, we can select the services that users are authorized to use to connect to the firewall. For example, if I check the HTTPS option, user will be able to access the firewall's web page and connect to the firewall by entering the IP addresses 192.168.2.1 in their web browser. In this scenario, I want the user to only be able to ping the gateway, which is port 2 of the firewall. So, I only check the ping option. Okay, now it's time to set up the DHCP server so that VPCS2 can automatically receive its IP address. I check the DHCP server option. I want user to receive the IP addresses from 100 to 254. If I want user to receive the same IP address 192.168.2.1 as their gateway, I select same as interface IP. But if I want them to receive a specific IP address, I can choose a specific and enter a different IP address. I can do the same for DNS. In this example, I choose a specify and enter 8.8.8.8 and 4.2.2.4. Okay. We can enable or disable the port. And that's it. Okay. Let's move onto the server on port 3. Inside the alias, I write a relevant name like server because I want this port to act as a gateway. I select manual and enter the IP 172.18.1.1/24. I only allow the ping protocol. Since I don't want servers to receive IP addresses via DHCP, I don't check the DHCP server option. The port is active and ready. I'm confident this course is one of the most comprehensive and practical courses available for network enthusiasts. So, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell for update on future tutorials. Okay, let's test it out. I'll enter VPCS1 and ping 192.168.2.1. Great. It works fine. Now, let's move to VPCS2. It was supposed to receive its IP from the DHCP server. To enable To get its IP, we use DHCP code. Excellent. It receives its IP correctly. Okay, now let's ping its own gateway. Okay. Now it's time for the server. It also responded to the ping. Let's test it from the firewall side too. I open the CLI console and ping each VPCs one by one. And that's it. Excellent. I highly recommend following this playlist so you can design your own firewall according to your company needs. Take care.